Yeah.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the 15th Sustainability Summit Action Agenda for the Next Decade. The 15th Sustainability Summit is designed to bring to fore ideas and thought leadership on shaping the coming decade by incorporating learnings from COVID 19 and reflecting on our past actions. The summit will envision how our future will look like by deliberating on solutions that will shape our living, which is sustainable, fair, and equitable. The summit will build on conversations around how technology and innovative methods can enable actions and change in the coming decade. We have a large number of people this morning logged in and watching this virtual inaugural session from industry, academia, and government. I would like to specially acknowledge the on-screen presence of His Excellency Mr. Pavan Kapoor, Ambassador of India to UAE, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Albana, UAE Ambassador to India, and Dr. Aman Puri, Consul General of India in Dubai. A very special welcome to all of you and thank you for joining us. We will now begin with the inaugural session, and for that I would like to start by inviting Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry, to give his opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Renuka. Uh, Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Mohammed Balaif Al Nuami, the Honorable Minister for Climate Change and Environment of UAE, Sanjeev Puri, the Chairman of the Center, our ambassadors, Ambassador of India to the UAE and Ambassador of UAE to India, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. And it's indeed a pleasure to welcome all of you to this very, very important and significant 15th Sustainability Summit and Action Agenda for the next decade. 15th is indeed a very important milestone to reach, and it is therefore an honor to have amidst us His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Climate Change and Environment of the UAE, with us here today. Our nations enjoy very strong bonds of friendship, which are founded on millennia old cultural, social, economic discourse between our two regions. People to people contacts and trade have existed, as all of us know, for centuries. And the relationships over the last few years have been especially very, very engaging and very, very important. We have been, as an institution, the CII, we have been actively engaging with the UAE over the past 3 decades. And UAE has been actively participating in many of our forums, our events, our discussion sessions in the last many years. And similarly, we have been able to participate in some of the flagship and important forums and meetings and discussions and events of the UAE as late and as recent as the Global Manufacturing Industrial Summit, which was held this month. And I'd like to really, in this context, warmly acknowledge the contributions and welcome our Indian ambassador, Sri Pavan Kapoor, very much for all his inputs, guidance, and the linkage that he has really been able to establish and further in his tenure. And thank you very much, Ambassador Kapoor, for being with us also here today. Warm welcome to you. And I must acknowledge our very long-standing friend and a person who has been always involved with CII deeply, the UAE ambassador, Dr. Ahmed Albana, for their rich and very, very worthy contributions. Sanjeev Puri, again, whom you see on the screen, leads the CII's agenda on sustainable development. And for the past 15 years, ITC has been a very key and a close partner of this particular venture, which is the Center of Excellence on Sustainable Development. We are indeed today, we have been living through very difficult times for the past few months. All of us have been experiencing it. And where globally, economies have been very strongly affected, and India has faced with the dual challenge of building back better and meeting the development needs of the large population without compromising on the needs of the future generations. And the global governance framework for climate change, environment, and biodiversity has been evolving over the last quite few years. And however, there has been there needs to be deeper understanding today, as I would see it, of the complex interlinkages between the society, between the environment, and the economy that have been bearing on sustainable development. And of course, the sustainable development goals under the UN, by the UN Agenda 2030, provide an ideal tool to achieve sustainable, inclusive growth, where all nations are committed to work towards achieving positive outcomes. As we build India for a new world, we cannot return to business as usual. And it is important that the global environment, all the whatever is happening, such as climate change, biodiversity loss, that could cause social and economic damages far larger than those caused by COVID-19, when taken into consideration, if we really take that time span. And businesses that are primary engines of economic growth have a key role to play. And it's imperative that sustainability is at the heart of the business competitiveness in order to build a clean, green, and just recovery that creates employment and creates a more sustainable and resilient economy for the future. This is our opportunity to embrace a more sustainable recovery. And from CII, we have been always championing that there is this a time that we are living through, which we call the during COVID time. And when we look at the AC time, which is the after COVID time, we should not get back to the before COVID normal, but we should really look at probably in a never normal world which is emerging, as to how we find ourselves the best fit in taking this huge important agenda forward. And from CII, we are indeed very, very committed. And one of the most important areas of CII's work, especially this year, includes how we can grow and revive sustainability. As is said, Mother Nature has its own ways of reestablishing nature's equilibrium when disturbed. And we have seen and experienced, and we all started talking about the fishes that we saw, the clear waters that we saw in the rivers, and we saw the blue skies over the last few months. So we experienced, and we saw what we had done to our nature. We experienced and how we could have rather maintained it. And the increase in the incidence and intensity of natural calamities and spread of disease are all signs of Mother Nature trying to restore nature's equilibrium. As we revisit our developmental models, we need to be conscious of keeping harmony with the nature. And COVID has shown us that climate change is for real, and that industrial activity is an important contributor to the same. The lockdown period has also shown us blue skies, as I mentioned, and India has been at the forefront of the climate change mitigating measures. However, we would need to deepen our work and attention to sustainability in all our economic activities. So, sustainability is one area that CII has been engaged in deeply in many of our activities, and we have helped industry adopt sustainable business operations, be it in energy efficiency and conservation, or nature based solutions, water conservation, waste management, even good governance, awareness, and capacity building around business and human rights along the value chain, and also social value creation. So we have established over the last many years, over the last 2 decades, we have been able to establish 9 centers of excellence, of which the CII ITC Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development, which we call CESD, Center for Excellence for Sustainable Development, is one very, very important flagship center of CII and the ITC to champion the cause of sustainable development. And CESD has partnered with many global organizations to bring the depth of global experience to India and to enable our companies attain excellence in sustainable performance. It has also been the voice, the center of excellence of India's business in global fora, as well as in international negotiations on environmental issues, climate change, and biodiversity. So CESD, through all our various initiatives, is completely committed to the areas of promoting clean air, environmental conservation and forest protection, reducing our CO2 emissions, biodiversity, sustainable procurement, very very important in corporate, which we champion resource efficiency and circular economy, corporate reporting and recognition of excellence in various other domains. And so we look forward to this 3 engaging days of the summit with deliberations around the action agenda for the next 1 decade. And I really welcome all the participants who are joining and engaging us in this very important communication. And this really establishes and gives us the strength and our encouragement to really embark upon newer ideas, which we will get. And I'm sure we will do that in the next few days. And it's indeed very, very motivating to see the presence of the UAE in particular at this inaugural session as we start this 15th Sustainability Summit. And I really want to warmly acknowledge and convey our deepest thanks to His Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Mohammed Belhaif Al Nuami, the Honorable Minister of Climate Change and Environment of the UAE, for gracing this very, very important occasion. So thank you. And again, a warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. I now request Mr. Sanjeev Puri, Chairman, Advisory Council of CII ITC Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development and Chairman and MD ITC Limited, to address us, please.
Thank you, Renuka. Your Excellency, Dr. Abdullah, Minister of Climate Change and Environment, UAE, Ambassador Mr. Pawan Kapoor, Ambassador Dr. Albana, Dr. Aman Puri, Dr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Ms. Seema Arora, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure in welcoming you to the 15th Sustainability Summit, the flagship event of the CII ITC Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development. It is indeed a privilege to have with us today His Excellency Dr. Abdullah, Minister for Climate Change and Environment, UAE. Excellency, we are indeed grateful to you for sparing your valuable time to inaugurate this. Your presence here no doubt reaffirms the robust and long-standing bilateral relations between UAE and India that go on trade and commerce. Our share deeper values, including our sense of responsibility to climate change, inclusive growth, and sustainability. His Excellency is a champion of the cause of sustainability. As the country's Minister for Climate Change and Environment, he spearheads the country's effort to combat climate change and protect its ecosystems through effective policy formulation and implementation. We're indeed grateful for your presence, Your Excellency, and we look forward to your erudite views and wide experience that will benefit all of us. I'd also like to thank CB for his continued support and guidance to the CII ITC Center, as well as Seema and her team, who have worked tirelessly to make the center one of India's foremost platforms in corporate sustainability. As CB also mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic has altered life in many ways, impacting lives and livelihoods across the globe on a scale. The global economy by over 5% this year. The economy has also experienced significant contraction in the first quarter. According to ILO estimates, COVID-19 could cause equivalently 200 million job losses worldwide. India is also likely to mirror global. Estimates suggest that worldwide, over 1 billion people will be pushed into poverty, reversing the progress made on reducing global poverty by 2 to 3 decades. The World Food Programme states that 265 million people will face crisis levels of hunger unless direct action is taken. The challenge for most economies around will be to revitalize economic growth and generate opportunities for gainful employment. As we move to the next normal, businesses will need to be agile and resilient, not only to face the adversity arising out of the pandemic, but also a new paradigm of competitiveness. More important, however, is that business and industry, as large economic organs of society, need to act with compassion and make societal value creation, with special focus on livelihood creation, an integral part of their corporate strategy. Even before the pandemic, the world was reeling under challenges like extreme poverty, inequity, and climate change. The last few decades have witnessed the dire consequences of environmental degradation and social inequities. Extreme and erratic weather events have become frequent and intense. Recent reports stated that the Earth has lost 28 trillion tons of ice in less than 3 years. Sea level can rise by a meter by the turn of the century. This is ominous, as with every centimeter of rise, a million people will get displaced from their low-lying homelands. World over, job creation before the crisis was falling far short of the need to create meaningful livelihoods. The World Economic Forum 2020 Global Risk Report has listed climate change amongst the for the next decade. The recent RBI report too states that volatile rainfall intensity, increase in extreme weather events, and rising temperatures can severely impact critical sectors like agriculture. If anything, the pandemic today accentuates the imperative for sustainable and inclusive growth that must continue to be the center point of policy and action. The planet is in peril. People are in this, and perhaps never before is the need for all sections of society to come together to find newer solution to addressing the core issue of sustainability. I'm delighted that the center has thus chosen an apt topic for deliberation in this summit, the action agenda for the next decade. To my mind, pursuing the triple bottom line objectives as a guiding framework and designing new pathways to build economic, environmental, and social capital as a unified strategy and not as separate silos holds the key to action that can lead to a sustainable and inclusive future. Let me dwell on this briefly. Think of the economic pillar, which has been ravaged by the after effects of the pandemic, is at the core of the journey from the new normal to the next normal. At ITC, we have looked at it of three distinct phases which will coexist in the journey ahead. First, a survival phase as corporates brace to manage the crisis. Second, a reboot phase as businesses align to the new normal, with certain segments experiencing demand destruction, some new trends emerging, while several pre-crisis trends gain accelerated pace. Third, as the crisis ebbs, corporates will have to gear up for the next normal, with some trends operating, some remaining at an elevated level, certain segments witnessing recovery, whilst new opportunities and industry dynamics get constantly redefined. Corporates will have to traverse this journey with agility, resilience, innovative capacity, and most importantly, with compassion. While black swan events like the pandemic test the capacity of organizations, unleash forces of innovation and creativity to shape a more sustainable and inclusive future. It is only when the economic pillar is fortified to become even more resilient that businesses will have the capacity and resources to contribute more meaningful to sustainability goals. Let me address the pillar of building social capital, given that lives and livelihoods are predominantly the issue that are foremost on everyone's mind. Without doubt, protecting lives with adequate healthcare infrastructure across the length and breadth of the country remains a crucial need. Equally will be the need to generate livelihoods at a time when economy is already challenged and the near-term future may still witness a tepid recovery impacting consumption, investment, and jobs. In India, one key sector, agriculture, provides livelihoods to nearly half of the workforce besides providing sustenance to two-thirds of the population. Building and supporting competitive value chains in the agri strong brands that retain value economy can create a virtuous cycle of production, investment, and employment in the rural economy with larger ramifications on growth for the entire country. The agri reforms development recently provide a new opportunity to enhance corporate participation. Strengthening value chains in every sector to support livelihood creation will be a crucial requirement that needs priority in strategy formulation and execution. Third, the environmental pillar, which is under considerable stress due to the cumulative impact of climate change and the lesser pace of environment replenishment. At one level, corporates will need to accelerate their progress towards renewable energy implementation, reduction in specific water and energy consumption, and adopt green manufacturing operations. However, innovations will also have to be crafted to build synergistic business models that simultaneously enrich environmental resources and biodiversity. Climate change mitigation and adaptation will progressively need to form a larger component of corporate strategies, ensuring a fresher, cleaner, and greener environment. I am confident that by focusing on the three pillars and by reshaping our response to address the challenges emerging from the crisis, we will define the future agenda for action. I say this with the strength of conviction given our own experience at ITC of making societal value creation the bedrock of corporate. At ITC, we call this responsible competitiveness, a strategy that focuses on building extreme competitiveness whilst enriching the environment and creating sustainable livelihoods simultaneously. By crafting unique business models that simultaneously deliver robust triple bottom line, ITC today is the only company in the world to be carbon, water, and solid waste recycling positive for more than a decade. ITC's businesses create livelihood for 6 million people. Its globally celebrated e-Chopal has empowered 4 million farmers, transforming the agri sector. The company's water stewardship program has brought soil and moisture conservation to over 1 million acres and has generated 6 million person days of employment. The afforestation program has generated 800,000 acres, creating 147 million per days of employment. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 years ago, ITC joined hands with CII to create this unique institution, the CII ITC Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development with a visionary. Since then, it has been an extremely fruitful with the center emerging as an institution championing sustainability in the Indian industry. The center launched the Sustainability Summit in 2006. Over the years, it has emerged as a signature event, bringing informed minds together to raise thought-provoking issues, forge partnerships, and deliberate on transformative solutions. I'm confident that the 15th Sustainability Summit will bring to the fore ideas on shaping the coming decade by incorporating learnings from the crisis and reflecting on our past actions. It will also set the direction for the future by deliberating on solutions that will shape our living, which is sustainable, fair, and equitable. As I conclude, let me congratulate the CII ITC Center for its stellar efforts in bringing sustainability to the center stage of discussions in corporate strategy. We are immensely grateful to the government for their support and all of you in the industry stood behind this cause. Thank you, Your Excellency, once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the very best in the deliberations ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my proud privilege to invite His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Belhef Al Nuami, Minister of Climate Change and Environment, UAE, to kindly deliver the keynote address. Sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. As Mr. Banerjee indicated, the climate change would actually be harsher and more effective than COVID-19. That's true. It gives me, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to join you at this flagship event of the Confederation of Indian Industry, the 15th Sustainability Summit. I thank the organizers for inviting me to participate in this important forum that aims to chart a sustainable course for humankind for the next decade through leading the conversation on leveraging technology and innovation to power action and change in a historic way. While trade often defines bilateral relations among nations, India and the United Arab Emirates share so much more than just economic synergies. Strong cultural and people-to-people ties unite our countries. So do our shared values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence. More than 3.3 million Indians call the United Arab Emirates their home away from home. The summit is particularly timely as the world continues to face turmoil, massive environmental risks, and increasing natural disasters. The action agenda for the next decade has to drive home the message that pandemic recovery efforts must place planetary health at the heart of all decisions and focus on building back better. I see that this summit is designed to bring to the fore ideas and thought, leadership, and shaping the coming decade by incorporating learning from COVID-19 and reflecting on our past actions and envision what our future will look like by exploring solutions that can make our life sustainable, fair, and equitable. Our two nations have a strong sense of responsibility to the environment in common. They are firm advocates of climate action and sustainability. India's renewable energy journey has been truly impressive, with the country pledging to generate 40% of its power from carbon-free sources by 2030 as part of its commitment to the Paris Agreement. On the sidelines of the landmark COP21, India and France joined forces to launch the International Solar Alliance, of which the United Arab Emirates is also a member. The alliance has since emerged as a credible platform for ensuring universal energy access and energy equity. The coronavirus outbreak has triggered an economic downturn on a global scale. Countries around the world are currently developing their recovery plans, and I urge them to align their post-COVID-19 economic activities with environmental protection, because climate change is still the most important existential threat to humanity. Any plans for economic recovery must factor on the green economy as its cornerstone. The outbreak has revealed weaknesses in our global supply chain, particularly in terms of food supply, posing a serious risk on food security of the global community. For that reason, food security and safety are now the forefront of the United Arab Emirates priorities. Resilient food systems are more important than ever, as COVID-19 threatens to double the number of hungry people around the world, and the climate crisis continues to limit and shape food production. We need to innovate. Yes, indeed. We must use science and technology in new ways that are in harmony with the nature to reimagine how we grow, how we grew, process, distribute, and also eat food. In the United Arab Emirates, our natural environment offers very few opportunities to practice conventional forms of agriculture. We have little arable land, scarce of water for irrigation, and are reliant on imports. It pains me to say that, but we are food dependent. Our priority is to relieve the pressure through using modern technology and innovation approaches to improve the availability of homegrown food. Our agricultural sector is undergoing a major transformation, since agriculture often places a significant pressure on natural resources and the environment. We are building sustainable and integrated food security systems that offer innovative solutions to the challenges of securing food sources. Our sustainable agriculture practices, including vertical farming, hydroponics, organic farming, and controlled environment agriculture, enable us to grow local fruits and vegetables with minimal resources. For our government, innovation is a must to keep pace with technological advancement and to address the most pressing environmental, economic, and social issues. Over the past few years, we have devised multiple strategies, initiatives, and programs aimed at creating an innovation ecosystem. These include the United Arab Emirates Natural Innovation Strategy, the United Arab Emirates Strategy for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and the United Arab Emirates Strategy for Artificial Intelligence, which seeks to foster innovation in all fields. The government has also introduced a new fund to boost research and development, long-term visa schemes for innovative talent, and most recently, 50 years challenge that invited all UAE citizens and residents to come up with innovative solutions that can improve quality of life in the country over the next 50 years. In 2017, we launched the United Arab Emirates Strategy 2050, the first unified energy strategy in the country that is based on supply and demand. By 2050, the strategy aims to increase the share of clean energy to our energy mix to 50%, reduce the carbon footprint of power generation by about 70%, and increase energy consumption efficiency of individual and corporates by 40%, thus saving about $190 billion. Our government also aims to invest more than $160 billion by 2050 to meet the growing energy demand and drive sustainable economic growth. Despite all the challenges, we have stayed on course and maintained our timeline to clean energy projects. We hope that our pioneering outlook in deploying renewable energy solutions will help the country to become a leader in environmental policy and green job creation. Investing in renewable energy creates approximately 3 times more jobs than oil and gas. And the United Arab Emirates plans to create more than 90,000 jobs in renewable energy by 2030. There are many opportunities for collaboration between India and the United Arab Emirates. During his last visit to our country, His Excellency Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, noted that our bilateral relations are at their best ever. The United Arab Emirates is India's third largest trading partner, with about 60 billion US dollar bilateral trade in 2018-2019, and we have witnessed an increasing interest in investments in India in sectors such as renewable energy, food, ports, airports, and defense manufacturing. Many Indian companies are also investing in the United Arab Emirates. Our two countries have made enormous progress in implementing agreements in key areas, including defense, security, infrastructure, and energy. In other words, our relations are truly multi-dimensional, as Prime Minister Modi said. The 13th session of India-UAE Joint Commission meeting on trade, economic, and technical cooperation that took place virtually last month identified several important sectors: infrastructure, logistics, food parks, ports, and renewable energy. We appreciate the significant contributions of Indian expats to our economy. We really do, and are keen to strengthen our links in energy and food security so that together we can build a sustainable future for our nations and the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, and I wish you productive participation in this great summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to a close of the inaugural session. Thank you all for joining us. We will continue with the next session on responsible consumption right away. Please remain logged in. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you.